Good morning. Thank you for joining today's zipForm training for very important all of realtors. You need this training updated. Today, we are so glad to have Leon Townsend to help us as our teacher. Let's welcome Leon.
Good morning, everyone. Hopefully, everyone's slowly coming in. I know we start on time at 9:30, so hopefully everybody's ready to go. First thing before we get started, I would love to see a raise of hands if you guys have been in the business for a year or less. If you just raise your hand, that can help me figure out how much we need to do, or if you want to type in the chat some of the things that you would like to learn to help your business out, just so that we can have a set just some set goals that we have. Obviously, as it forms, there's a lot of things for us to learn and to see, so I want to be able that we are a full assistance and help. There's some things that I've learned that I will show everyone, but I also want to make sure that if someone is having troubles when they're logging in or things that they would like to learn, that I also address those as well. So if you want in the chat, before I share my screen, let me know how long you've been in real estate or how long you've been licensed so that we can see and kind of gauge where everyone is. I'm very more of an interactive teacher, and as I share my screen, I want to make sure that everybody's able to follow along and be able to ask questions. So if you have questions as I'm going through, just make sure you raise your hand. Or if you need clarification or you want to talk more after the session is over, do feel free to raise your hand as well, and I will get to that. So first things first, hopefully everyone does know how to log in. If you are not aware of how to log in, do raise your hand or mention it so that I can actually show everyone how to log in. Hopefully you do know how to log in and you're hopefully already in your zip forms, right? So you can access zip forms from two places. You can access from the WSGVAR website, which hopefully hope you guys use when you log in, or you can use it straight from when you log into the MLS. And when you log in from the MLS, on the left hand side, there is a toggle button that says CAR, and then you will go into your CAR website and you would log in with your credentials there, and then you would hit access zip forms and you will come to a screen that looks just like this in a new window, right? So this is my actual live zip forms as it is, right? So you see dashboard, which shows details of transactions and accepted offers and closed deals and everything like that. You have transactions, which are deals that you have either written on for showings, um, offers that didn't get accepted or anything like that. One of the things that I learned that we will go through today is templates, which will help you write take you a shorter amount of time to write offers. Inbox is if you wanted to go ahead and have outside documents, either documents you created like a cover letter or another form that needs to be digitally signed, you can input that as well. Contacts from your email addresses that are linked, and then you could shop for other things like that. All right. So just want to check and see if everyone is able to log into their zip forms. Um, I'm just the type of teacher that always tries to make sure that I am connecting with you guys. So if I ask questions repeatedly, it's because I want to make sure that you guys are able to follow along. All right. So my goal today is to make sure that it does not take you 45 minutes to an hour to write an offer. Um, the shortest time I've been timed to actually write an offer has been 7 minutes. All right. So what I'm hoping to do is to help you guys become more efficient in your business. All right. So hopefully you guys are already in your zip forms as we're doing this. So I'm going to go back to my shared screen and I'm going to show you a couple tricks of the trade. All right. So first off, all right, we'll go to our dashboard. Our dashboard actually shows you some things that you would not expect, right? So this shows closed transactions, waivers, things that are actually coming up, and all the forms. So when you are looking at this, right, you have transactions that are closed this month. Sometimes it takes a little bit to actively upload because I actually have closed transactions just in the last couple of weeks. You have active transaction types, so whether that be listings, uh, representing the buyer side, all of those types, and then potential sales volume, right? So if you are one who is focused on sales goals, when you are logging into zipForms, this keeps track of all of that. So if you want to make sure that you are making sure you reach your set sales goals for the year, you could actively utilize this as part of your planning, right? So I highly encourage you to do so. Um, Transactions, right? So as we go over into transactions, I'm going to save templates for last because I feel like that's where the majority of people have found the greatest success and a lot to learn from the actual class, which is templates. Templates take a little bit longer to do because I want to make sure that everybody is in there, right? So when we are in transactions, we could actually see the forms that you need, right? So this is the last transaction that I just closed. So, and then these are transactions that I have been working on. So if you look, we're going to protect my client's information just so that nothing happens, right? If we take, for example, as this loads a little bit, right, we are going to go into just a sample transaction just so that we could see, all right? One of the things that you have to keep in mind is that all of these tools that we provide with our membership, not just at the local level, but at the state level and national level, is only here to help you grow your business, only to help this business become easier and efficient for you so you can spend more time doing what you need to do, marketing and networking, right? So I know that the networking side has been hurt a little bit by COVID-19. Hopefully, everybody's staying safe at the same point. But we also have to realize that if this was a normal type of situation, it would be completely different. So when we get to the point where we have our transaction, these are all of the forms that we can actually see. So I am going to stop screen sharing for a minute while I figure out what's going on with this. But as we're in zip forms, we have to recognize that everything we need is here. Zip forms keeps track of everything, every single transaction, every single form, if you want to keep track of yourself for 7 years. So you could see the difference that you've made as you're growing and learning from your first transaction that you may have done 7 years ago, or a first transaction for the year, up to 2013, up to today, right? So I can look back on this transaction in Glendora, San Dimas area, 7 years later, and see the difference from then until now, how the forms have changed. So one thing to keep in mind, our forms go through a review process at least twice a year. So every 6 months, there are going to be new forms added, and there are going to be forms that need to be adjusted or shortened or contain extra clauses for legal purposes from lawsuits or anything of that nature. So as you keep that in mind, be sure to notice when these are happening. So if you are keeping track of the timeline, there should be a new form that is coming out or updates, right? Because this is the time of the year where we're actually doing updates. But since it has been actually COVID-19, we added one form and that's been consistently adjusted. But keep an eye out for things that may come down the line into this year, beginning of next year. So let me go back. Hopefully my zip forms is operating with this. If not, I'm going to open it back up and we will take it from there. But what I want you to see when we are actually looking at our zip forms is the things that are within zip forms, right? So, as part of your membership, just at the local level at WSGVR, we have access to California forms and national forms. So our forms may vary by state because the laws are different, but we have access to things. So hopefully, here's one thing that I am going to show you guys that a lot of people don't actually notice. All right. So this is our tutorial spot. So when you are in zipforms and you are by yourself and you have no idea how to use this, you could go through each of these and utilize things that you may have forgot from this class or you need to know. So each of these videos you could actually access from the beginning. So if you forget something you may have learned that you wanted to use that you may have forgotten, do use this, right? So you have your summary, which is your cover letter that you would share with an offer. You have the parties that are in it. You have basic navigation, how to import contacts from Gmail, from your brokerage email, how to access forms, how to get electronic signatures. These are things we'll go over, but let's say you do forget, don't hesitate to utilize this tutorial. Each of these videos are between 2 to 5 minutes, and they will, if you forget, be essential to your business, right? So I like to use things actually engage with in person. So you have help guides, you have knowledge base, you have release notes. All of these things are here to support you in your business. So if you may forget this, all you need to do is go here. You have a live chat. You have how to use zipform standard. Most people use zipform plus. Also how to use mobile. So if you are great with your cell phone and great with an iPad or a Samsung tablet, you can utilize zipform. So if you're on a listing appointment and you don't want to bring around your heavy MacBook or your heavy Chromebook, you can bring your tablet and you can have your clients sign directly on there. The forms look exactly the same. It is just that it's a mobile version. So mobile versions skip a couple things, but you have access to all of that. So hopefully you guys are aware on how to actually download that. ZipForms is in your app store if you have an Apple product, or your Google Play Store. It is free. You don't have to pay for that, and you could utilize the mobile version of ZipForms. So if you want to learn as you are not by your laptop how to complete forms, you can just go ahead and do fake transactions, which is what helped me as well. And you could go ahead and practice and then delete them at the end, right? So all of these videos are helpful to you. So if you really want to utilize zip forms to its fullest extent and you are unable to get a hold of a trainer like myself, then I encourage you to log on to CAR, watch some of these videos, and utilize them to your advantage as well, right? So as we go back into our transactions, right, every form is here, every form for each transaction, right? So as you know, hopefully, if you guys are out there showing clients, you know that you have a form that we have to sign just to step into the property. All right. So as you see the pop up for my NHD, no advertising here, but those are things that pop up. You can stop the pop ups as well. So let's just say that I have this Corona property entry form, right? Obviously, I have it here. If I needed to send this to my client to have them sign, all I would need to do is click here and go to e-sign, right? Going into e-sign is electronic signature. You can use DocuSign. If you don't want to pay, one thing that we do have is digital ink. Digital ink is a free member benefit that can utilize at any transaction. So the unique thing about our digital ink is it has a timestamp, a date, and an IP address. And if you remember right, those are the three things if you needed to electronically sign a form with a notary present. So these are things that you would not have to pay for because you have it as a member benefit, right? So this is something to keep in mind if you need a signature on a document. If you want to go and drive exactly wherever, how far your client is, more power to you. But for me, if my client is more than 30 to 45 minutes away and I only need one signature, I would much rather do it electronically, right? So if I were to go ahead and say I wanted to write an offer on this property, all I would need to do is go into the corner here where it says all forms, and I could pull up any form, and once I click on it, it drops right into this property address, right? So if you look, this place where I just checked, these are all the forms that you could possibly need in the state of California, right? You could get addendums, you can get a listing agreement, contract, you can get a purchase agreement, additional agent acknowledgement, agency, your cover sheet if you're going to present an offer. If you're going to present an offer, you want a better probability. I would highly suggest adding a cover sheet. You have the agent visual disclosure, commission sharing. So if you want to contest a commission agreement that's stated in the MLS, arbitration, backup offers, bed bud disclosures. All of these forms are available for every transaction. And just because you are a CAR member, they are free to you, right? If you wanted to do something like you write a cover letter or write a letter to a client or to a tenant, you could also utilize these as well. So you have sample letters here, foreclosure prevention, home warranty, NAR forms, right? So you have all of these different forms and templates that are available to you as a member, right? Now, hopefully that makes sense. So those forms are free, right? So just remember when we're looking at all of these forms, all I need to do is click all forms and they are access to every transaction. So almost any form that you would need for a transaction or for future transactions, you have access to, right? So hopefully there's no questions on that. If there are questions, don't hesitate to put them in a chat box. And after I show some of the forms, I will go back in and answer any questions or raise your hand. If you have questions, raise your hand as well. I don't mind answering questions. I just want to make sure that we all are understanding because my job and what I hope is that I can help you guys be better, right? Because that's the whole goal of teaching and that's the whole goal of learning. I don't know everything about zipForms as I've only been licensed for about almost 5 years, but I take the time to actually learn and try to pass that knowledge that I get on to other people. So if there are questions, do not hesitate. What I'll do is after the class is over, I will leave you my contact information so that you can reach out just in case you may forget something soon as well. So as we go back in, right, now we notice that our forms are here, right? So I clicked on the purchase agreement. Our purchase agreement is here, right? So as our purchase agreement loads, this is where we put in all of our key information, right? So this has automatically, it will have all of my information, right? It has my brokerage, it has my name. The drop down here has my license number as well. And then I could go in and fill out everything. Now, if we are in an offer and we want to make this a little bit easier, right? If this property was on the MLS, all I would need to do is type in the MLS listing ID and it fills in everything. It fills in the listing agent, it fills in the address, and it fills all of that in. All I would need to do is go in and input the contract terms and details that my client wants. The most time that people spend is trying to make sure that they have the listing agent correct and the address correct. So as long as we already have that, because the MLS, they have to make sure that they file that correctly, and then the information is already corrected and verified, which most things are, we're already set. As long as we type in the listing ID, we can include the property photo just to make sure it looks right. We hit find, and it's right there, right? So we can do more examples of that as the class goes on, but this is where you input the listing for the specific offer. So these are things I want you to see, just so that once you get more practice in it, this cuts down 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll do other things that cut down more time, so that all you would need to do is basically plug and play and send, right? So as you see, you could input parties, you have a checklist that you could use. All of these things are here to help you make sure that you are doing the transaction correctly, right? You know, you may have a transaction coordinator, you have a broker in your office, that's great. But what happens when you're trying to write an offer and you can't get a hold of your broker or your transaction coordinator, or it's late at night, or it's early in the morning, or you're out of town, or whatever it may be, you're with your family, however it may be a holiday, it doesn't matter, right? As we know, real estate is 24/7, 366, right? We may never know when an offer may come about. So as long as we are here, we can go ahead and, add a checklist, right? ASAP, for example, right? We can create tasks that tells us when these things need to be done, what I need to attach, what I need to get from the client just so that our offer is full, or what I need to fill out, right? So you could even go here to our board and it pops up with all the things that you need to do, right? You could even take all these documents and export them into your computer so that you can save them for future use, or see what they'll look like if you were to print them out and send them to a client, right? So all of these things we have access to. And what the great thing about it is this comes with our membership, right? So once you pay every year, this is consistently available to you, right? So you also can access RPR, which is Realtor Property Resource. I encourage you guys, if you are out doing listing presentations in person, hopefully being safe, or doing these listing presentations via Zoom, FaceTime, Google Duo, or any other alternatives, WeChat, um, that you utilize RPR as a resource as well. RPR gives you almost everything you would need to make an accurate thing for your property. So let's see if it'll let me log in this way. If not, I'll probably have to go through MLS. But it is a property report, so you have everything. You have data, you have the school district, you have the homes that sold in the area and the price that they sold at. It gives you an estimated price on how much the house should be listed for and what that means compared to the properties that have sold within a half a mile, same block, a mile, 2 miles. All of those things are all available in RPR. RPR comes with your membership as well. You can log in through MLS. You just click RPR, type in the address, and it gives you a full 20 to 40 page form. So if you are new or you're not, you're kind of still nervous about appointments and how to, gauge clients, use RPR, print it out, present it to them. You can create a nice cover page with your name on it, with your brokerage on it, color photos, everything, so that it helps you be a better realtor, right? So hopefully that makes sense at the current moment. So I encourage you to use RPR. It makes your job so much easier, right? If you are going in to utilize things that are more than just residential, right? So you have all of these. These are all of the things that come free with your membership, right? So you have the finance helpline, you have your MLS, you have your digital ink, you have your zip vault. The zip vault is forms that have been in the past that may not be used currently but still can be important. You have NAR forms, MLS Connect, transaction management system, the mobile form. So if you needed to add on some other things, you can go in and do that. So like you have a lead agent, if you're a broker and you wanted to add access, air forms if you're going to focus on commercial. If you're going to get licensed in other states, you could go in Oregon. One of the states I'm looking to get licensed in is Washington. So if I needed to get forms for the state of Washington, I can go in and click on Washington forms, right? So since Washington forms are different, not by that much, I could use these forms and they'll just be different from the state of Washington. So if you are looking at getting licensed in other countries, you can use the worldwide, add that in. But remember, these are things you pay for, right? If you wanted to add other things within zip forms just for this, these are form libraries as well. Those are paid for. These are all free, right? So just look at that. Also, contacts. So here are your contacts if you wanted to see that. These are contacts of people that I've used. You can always input, right? These are all from, I have my Google, my Gmail, LinkedIn. So all of my Google contacts can just be clicked on and added in. So anybody that I've emailed at some point, whether it be an agent or anybody else, I can click on them and add them straight in. So this is here to help you, right? I don't have any tasks for this week that need to be done, but this is usually where I would put, hey, I need to sign my agent visual inspection disclosure. I need to have my clients sign their loan docs. I need to have the seller sign the NHD, whatever form it may be. If I can't put it on my calendar or I may forget, I can attach a due date and have it here, right? So all of these things are available to us for free, right? So as we go back into transaction, everything that you may need is here, right? So you can even go click on RPR right here, and obviously it comes back. It'll prompt me to log in. I don't remember my login, I'm not gonna lie. It's all set to my computer, but you could access it there as well, right? If I need the signatures, I can see all the signatures that need to be done and what form needs to be signed. It already gives us the property address, school district, the zoning, the parcel number. All I would need to do is get the correct MLS number. And it already has the listing agent and broker on the side as well. Again, MLS connects, make sure all the information is correct. E-sign, any form, I could send it out as well, right? So all your forms, the all forms will consistently pop up for every transaction, right? So I'll stop sharing for a second. Any questions on that so far? Right? Like I said, my job is to make this easier for you guys. It does get a little overwhelming if you've been, not licensed for long, which is when I first learned. Okay. George says, what's the best practice in creating folders and automatically sorting e-sign documents into the correct folders? For the same property address, because not all offers will be accepted, right? Not all transactions will close. Sometimes we need to replace with new and different buyers or sellers. Can we keep different properties or sellers on the same property? Or create a new transaction? My recommendation is if you are presenting multiple buyers to the same property address, I would just create a new transaction. So I'll visually show you the answer to that question. So here's something that happens. So when you are in a transaction, right, every time that you have a client that signs a document, right? It doesn't matter what document it is, right? These are all the forms that I had signed. You get a signature packet each time it's sent. So as you see, these are all the forms that I had electronically signed. It gets organized automatically in zip forms. Once you send it via the digital electronic signature through zip forms, it it creates its own folder internally. So you don't have to organize it. It's already sent in, and then once they sign, all you would do is you click on the form, and then you click on, if you want proof that they signed it. This is the audit trail right here. So this is what time they signed, how they signed, and where they signed as an IP address. And this is the actual signed document itself. So let's say that you have another client that wants to potentially purchase the same property, right? I would always start a new transaction because they are two different parties of people. I would never combine it because that just gets too much and it just sets yourself up for failure. So what I would do is I would go in, click new, right, and then click new purchase, and then fill in all the information here. So that helps you stay organized, and it keeps yourself out of trouble at any point in time. I'm the type to never want to set myself up for failure or to set myself up for things that are going to be in question. So if it's the same address and different client names, I would just create a new transaction, upload the MLS and let it be there, and then input all that client's information in, right? So, but for the folders and actual forms, zip forms does it for you themselves. So once you send out that first signature, let's say it's for the purchase contract, right? It creates its own folder and it creates a trail so that you can keep track of it. And it does that for every individual form. Excuse me. So it helps you stay organized on its own. You don't have to worry about that. But that's the great thing about the forms is it allows you to do so. So it doesn't make you go back in, try to find the form, or try to make sure that you did it the right way. It's already there, so that all you would need to do is click on the one that has that signature and send it off to the seller's agent, your transaction coordinator, or whoever else it may be. Because once they sign it through zip forms, they get a copy as well, the actual signings, so they can have it for their records as well. So you don't have to worry about them trying to find it, or if you already know that somebody may lose it, you can go ahead and just be like, hey, here it is. I can send it to you right now. You can print it out, keep it for the record so that it doesn't hold up the transaction any longer, right? I'm a very organized but appearing unorganized, if that makes sense. But zip forms really helps me. That's why I usually keep my phone. I know I don't really, some people may say no, but my calendar is always on things. So I would just encourage you to let zip forms do the work for you, and you just sign everything, right? You just go ahead and do what you got to do, input everything, have them e-sign everything so that it creates an audit trail and an individual folder on its own, so that you don't have to worry about, oh, where's this format? Did I get it signed or anything? When you send off the form to zip forms, you will get an you'll get an email notification. When they sign it, you'll get an email notification as well that it's signed, so you can go back in and make sure all the parties have signed. So that allows you to keep going about what you need to do through your business every day. And zipforms has done pretty much the work that you don't have to do. You don't have to get in your car and have them sign it, upload it, or send it, or take pictures on your phone and use cam scanner to send it to the TC or to the selling party. If you do it during zipforms, you can go do whatever else you need to have done and wait for the email trail. Just inform your client via text or phone call. Say, hey, I need a form for you to sign. I sent it via email. log in, sign it, and then hit send. And it'll come directly to you so that you don't have anything to worry about. So hopefully that answers your question. I think that that's the best way to go just because we all are business owners here now and we get distracted and we also have families and friends and all of these distractions. But this will help you keep everything on pace so that you can be more efficient in your business, right? So as we see that we have the audit trail and the signatures in already, the next thing is for what's important is knowing when a transaction is done per se, right? So the easiest way for us to actually see when a transaction is done is to see when not only our transaction coordinator has sent us our checklist, but the checklist that we created within a transaction has been done, right? So I don't know what you guys use for your transactions, whether you use SkySlope or you have your transaction coordinator who filters through every form. It doesn't matter, right? If you want to ensure that everything is done, right, this transaction is completed, right? Wait for this thing to load, right? If you wanted to make sure and you know it's done, I can hit a closing date, right? But it'll still be in my transactions for the next 7 years. I know it's done. You already got the check. You can go to close there, right? Only reason why you could update it pending, right? I could still hit it as active if it's active in the MLS. It fell through. I could email all of these forms within zipForms to whoever needs to be done, right? I can add a form if I wanted to add something else in and have a quick sign, right? All of these things are available to us. So that is the great thing. If you want to make sure or unsure if you spelled your party's name correctly, all the names will show up right here. So if you're writing a deal, if you're writing an offer, and you are completely unsure if you're even talking to the right person, with MLS Connect, this allows you to update this information already so that you know exactly who you're talking to. And if you don't know who you're talking to, if it's not listed with you using MLS Connect, you're talking to the wrong person. All right. So see, I don't have anything left on my checklist. There's a history when I've logged in, what needs to be signed, what hasn't needed to be signed, or what hasn't been signed. All that stuff is here, right? So it allows us to stay on track. We may need things that just need to be signed, right? So if you have a listing agreement, the best way to get the forms is a new listing. A new purchase or a new offer, that's the buyer side. If you have a lease, if you need someone, if you have a person who wants to lease a property, commercial or residential, right, you can have them fill out this form. You have a lease listing. Quick sign is a great aspect for us to use if we are just going to have them sign 1 or 2 forms, like the coronavirus advisory form. If they're not sure they're even going to purchase the property, they just need to get in, but you need to have it signed. You can use the quick sign for that. Quick sign a letter, right? Quick sign a loan approval. Whatever documents you may need signed quickly and you don't have access to DocuSign, you could utilize this. Email it to yourself, log in, sign it, send it off to whoever it may be that needs it, right? So all of these other things we could, hopefully you guys utilize if you want to buy other things. If you want to schedule a meeting within zipForms, you can do that as well. Elite Agent is one of the things that shows that you have to pay for, right? Then you have transaction tools. So if you wanted to even figure out a mortgage, right? You have a client and they ask you, hey, I can't get a hold of my loan officer. They may be out of town or something. If I want to buy a property that is $700,000, right, and I put down 10%, 70,000, right? If it's conventional right now, let's say 3.25, right? And let's say we're going to go 30 years, 30 times 12 is 360, right? They would pay $304 in principal and interest. But you fill out all this stuff right here. You can go ahead and fill it out. So you can pretty much utilize and help a client figure out what their mortgage payment would be. And well, I put 70,000 instead of 700. All right. So we calculate. It's about 3,000 a month. So you can help your clients just from zipForms figure out what or how much they would need to pay every month, or guesstimate based upon their mortgage, or see what they qualify for. Right? We're not loan officers, but we're here to help our clients in the best way possible. All right. Then you also have Forms Advisor as well. Forms Advisor is a great tool that I love. All right. So if you wanted to go in, you wanted to look at the purchase, right? Now, if you are representing the buyer, all right, buyer exclusively, no co-listing, all right, and then you can fill in all of these things, answer all these questions. It'll tell you what forms you need to sign. So if you're a new agent or an agent that's just coming back into the industry, right, and you aren't familiar or you haven't had too much experience, you personally can go into Forms Advisor and fill out the information, answer the questions, and you can basically figure out what forms you need. All right. So if I accept selected terms on all these questions, just for standard, just for an example, all right, I hit accept. Let's say 1039 Valley Boulevard, which is the association address per se, just for this example. All right. These are all the forms that you would need for a transaction. So some of these you could obviously get rid of once things have gone down the line, but these are the forms that just from answering those questions you would need signed before your transaction is complete. All right? If you download all of these forms and then you have them signed, you know, you could have your transaction coordinator or other people be like, okay, hey, this form is not needed. You can get rid of it. You can go from there, which is completely fine. But you now know what forms needed to be signed. So instead of going in and asking 100 million questions, which is great, I encourage you to do so, you have already gotten to the point where you are on a head start compared to everybody else. So if they have no idea where this is, you have a leg up on everybody else, and they can come to you for advice on how to do this. So if you are completely unsure, I encourage you guys to use the Form Advisor or even the Forms Tutor, which I'll show you in a second. But these are all the forms standard just based upon me not answering any of those questions. For the buyer side, you do the same thing for the listing, right? If you represent the seller exclusively, if it's a seller with a specific buyer, non-exclusively, right? You answer each of these forms and everything will be there. You can download them. You could even have them input into the transaction and everything is there, right? So just another thing that we have that helps us be better and quicker when it comes to our business, right? Even if you need to cancel a transaction, right? A lease, if you're on the listing side, if you are representing the leasee, or if you're on the property management side, you need to negotiate, right? So Form Advisor, again, it's just in transaction tools at the top, right here. Then you have Forms Tutor as well, which one flow tells us with different forms, right? So here's what Forms Tutor does. This is Forms Advisor. So Forms Tutor is electronic training tool, again, that helps you utilize all of the important forms live, right, with people actually on video walking you through them. Very almost as similar to this class, but a little bit different, right? So you click on Forms Tutor in itself. I have to log in. So I'll log in real quick just so that you guys can see it. But these are great tools to help you guys. Is again a free that helps you use a free benefit that helps you explain and use the most utilized standard forms with audio and text instructions. Right? So if you don't have someone to explain the forms to you and what they mean, let's say this is your first transaction ever or your first transaction within the last 5 to 10 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever your current business situation is, all of these forms, all right, some of these I've never used personally myself, like the delivery of notices addendum, all right, all of these forms that you may have questions about, all right, a lot of us aren't going to hopefully, you know, have to deal with methamphetamine contamination or radon and gas and mold notice, but every single one of these forms, we can go right here, and it has an explanation in what, I don't know, some people like to call plain English, but it breaks down what those legal words mean in just natural terms. If you are, you know, taking, if you're an interpreter for a person who doesn't really understand English, it helps you with that as well. As you notice, next week, zipForm is going to get a new name. It's going to be called Lone Wolf. Oh, that's new to me. So you can also attend those webinars. I encourage you guys to attend as many webinars as possible, just because the webinars that CAR offer, if you don't get a chance to come to this class, or we only offer this once a month. The CAR webinars are at least once a week. So if you have questions on things that are pertinent and you can't get a hold of a trainer or your broker or anything, you could just hop on a webinar and it'll walk you through it as well. The zipForm webinars are hosted by the guy who trained me. His name is Ed Charbonneau, and great resource to use. His job is zipForms, so we usually have him once a year, but he's a great resource to use. I ask him questions all the time. I think he might get annoyed by me at certain points just because I'm always trying to find shortcuts and ways to be better, right? So the basic principles of zipForms, right? I'm going to show you guys some of the things that I utilize to help my offers get done faster so that I can spend more time talking to people, because clearly I love hearing my own self-talk sometimes. Just kidding. But that is a small abbreviated portion of how great zipForms is for us as a business, right? I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. And does anybody have any questions? Do not hesitate to type them in the chat. There's no such thing as a dumb question. The only dumb question is a question that doesn't get asked. Yes. I don't know whoever said that, but it sounded cool and wise when it came out of my head. Right? So that's just the basic generic version of things, of some of the things, right? If we were to actually sit here in one classroom setting and go through all the things that zipForm does, we would probably never leave. And you will probably all need those glasses that help you read technology, because we could be here for days or at least 12 hours, right? And we don't have that much time. We all have businesses we need to do. We need to grow, right? Kids to feed, all those types of things. So on the screen, you see the templates that I personally use, right? So all of these templates have been adjusted or available compared to how I've made them available, right? So the most common ones that I personally experience are leases, single family listings, single family purchases, and maybe a multi-unit, right? So if we go in to look at my template for a single family home, you have the majority of things that we would need currently, right? As things are getting updated and added, like I could add in right here a coronavirus advisory form, right? Fill that out so that people know how to actually visit the property, or to have my clients sign it so that they can visit the property or make a blind offer, right? So the cover sheet that I was mentioning before is right here, right? You have your buyer's name or buyer's seller's name, but if we use MLS Collect, all of the seller's information will automatically preload, right? So will this information, the MLS number, the street address, county, city, state, that will upload as well, right? So this is just information from the last time, escrow, it's my old office, right? So all of these things would be in here. Now, obviously, I could apply this template no matter what to any transaction that I want. And that's what we would want, because we don't want to spend time actually looking for the forms itself. Don't want to look for forms, and I don't want to spend time making sure I spell names right or have the correct address or anything like that. So that's where the MLS Connect comes in, because that pre-fills everything out. So to create a template, right, all you do is you can import it, which I did the first time, but if you want to create one right now, we can create one, right? So let's create a purchase, right? So I could say new purchase condo, just for this example. I don't like hitting apply, because what if your client wants to buy a condo cash? What if there are particular forms that need to be filled in? I don't like doing that. So what I would rather do is set the contract, set the purchase or listing up, and then go in and apply the template to, because as we know, every contract is different. So to actually input the forms, just like I showed you earlier, we will go in and do it this way. I'll tap in the cover sheet, purchase agreement, AD, which is the abbreviation for the Corona form, right? Property entry advisory, seller occupant. We will tap in, let's say we're going to do this with FHA. We will add in our wire fraud advisory. We are going to add in our AVID, which is our agent visual disclosure, buyer's inspection advisory. That's important too. All right. So all of the forms would be right here. So we have that. Let's say we need to counter, so we can do counter, demand to close escrow. All right, disclosure regarding the relationship if I'm only representing the buyer exclusively. All right. You could even add in, per se, like an estimated buyer cost, right? So that the buyers are aware how much their closing costs may be. All right, you could always add to these forms, however it may be, right? So we could take a preview. No, we don't want a preview. But all that stuff is here now, right? So we can click on all of them. Hit preview. That's all right. But see, we would need an actual property address. So we go back You could send it, you can download it. We hit the back button, and bam, there's our template right there, right? So we could do this for every single one, right? If you go into a trust sale, whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, right, you would just need the same thing like you would do for a regular transaction, and you have your trust advisory, right? This is a form that you need to add in. You can add that into any regular transaction, right? So having all of these forms readily available just makes your job easier. So when you go into an appointment, whether a buyer's appointment or a seller's appointment, I don't need to worry about this because it's all here, right? So here's my seller single family. If I want to exclude it from the MLS, the listing agreement, the capacity disclosure, if there's lead-based paint, right? Now remember, lead-based paint is if it's been built before 1978. So you don't need to have that on the buyer side, but the sellers have to sign it because that's the actual home. Visual disclosure, transfer disclosure statement, right? Seller non-foreign status, market conditions advisory, all of the things, the seller property questionnaire, right? Our earthquake hazards. There's a little bit more forms for the listing than the purchase side, but all of these forms are important and they all have to be signed. There may be a couple extra ones, but you could always just go back up to the top and add them in, right? So these simple and basic templates have saved us minutes, hours, countless times, right? So I encourage you to use these. I will still walk you through how to do them. And then once you have that, and then you have that buyer, you have that seller, all you would need to do is hit apply. You just hit apply, right? And you have all of these. You can check whichever one you want. All right. Let's say listing. We'll hit apply. Or I go into transactions. I'll go into documents, hit apply template, click whichever one. All right, let's say this is going to be a purchase, obviously. Click apply. All of the forms are there. And then any excess forms, I can click on it, hit delete. All right, and it's there. We already have the coronavirus form signed. All right, and that one move right there just saved you so much time where you could spend all that time doing whatever you want. If you want a nap, right? Some of those sites, whatever it may be, you just saved yourself at least an hour finding all of these forms. So doing it one time for each and every transaction type will save you so much time in the long run. This, I can't tell you. If I would estimate how much time this has saved me, I would probably say I've just in the last year saved a day. 24 hours just from doing this stuff. Just from having these templates from almost 3 years ago when I first started full time, having these available saved me that much time, right? So now all I do is I type in the address. If I need to just do the coronavirus form first, do that. And then the client says they want to make an offer. I just add in a purchase, my purchase template, and go to work. Type in MLS Connect, type in that address. So everything is pre-filled out. And I'm good to go, right? So, I showed you some of the key parts, but let's see if I can. What I'm hoping is you guys have seen this at least at some point, right? My main goal is to hope that I'm not showing you anything new. The templates might be new, which is okay, but I'm hoping that you guys have at least seen the contract before. So with the MLS Connect. So if we were to purchase this property on Victoria and Carson, right? With the MLS Connect, this would have been filled out just by clicking it. All right. Seller landlord would have been there as well. And this is the crucial part right here, for example, right? Seller's brokerage firm would have been filled in. You see how the address is already here, right? Parcel number can be picked up automatically. And then you fill in information of your clients, right? And then you start filling out the actual transaction. And then also I'll show you where else. And the MLS Connect with that one type in of that, all of this would have been filled out, right? So all the information you have to go back in, check, confirm, make sure the address is correct. It will be already automatic. With not having to search for the selling agent's name, selling agent's office, their phone number, their email address. It'll already be there because it's information they've given to CAR and the MLS just by utilizing this one button right here and typing in that number. Everything will automatically be imported. So let's see if I can pull up one. Let's see. Just so we can get a physical example. All right. So as I mentioned at the very beginning, these are the toggle buttons to actually log into things. All right. So here is CRMLS, which is where our host is. Hopefully you've seen this before. So this is RPR. This is where I log into my RPR because I have so many things. Rate plug is if you're working with a specific amount of mortgage brokers and you want to do advertising. This will show you exactly what the rates are and what a client's expected payment will be from just that property. So when you send that out to your clients on their automatic, on the auto emails, hopefully you utilize that or seen that before, it'll have the rates and what their monthly payment will be, right? Cloud CMA is another report generation product. I just like RPR personally better. So we will log into my MLS. Let us coming soon. Is there anything in my area? Okay, let's do this one. It's in West Covina. It's not too far from us. All right. So if I take this number right here, this listing ID, I take it, I go back into my zipForms right here in the listing ID, type in and check on include property photo. I just like it just to make sure that that cover photo for me is correct. It's another way for us to help match. Perfect. See, it loads up that first photo on the MLS, the price, the date, the listing ID, the address. All right, I hit import. Doesn't really affect this because I'll just go back in and delete it later. Which, again, like I said, is always a great thing to remember. You could always go back and play around with this stuff and delete it later. See, look, I have the agent's name, Jerry Ann Pavis. Hopefully, I said her name wrong, correctly, excuse me. Fax number, email address, phone number, office address, brokerage name. All right. Name of the seller. And then you have the address filled out on each form. Don't mind the dates. Like I said, my templates are older, so I just go back in and change the date. Make sure I do that. And then we fill out the actual contract. But also, again, looky here. All right. Her name, brokerage license number, brokerage name, and their license number fills in right there. Right. Even added the tax ID number for the parcel. So you don't have to go back in and look for it because it's already there. All you get to do is fill in your client's information, fill out what their deposit's going to be, how much they're going to pay in a loan or resting cash, whatever it may be. Go back in. This is where you would attach if there's proof of funds. And then all these other conditions that go along with your offer. So you don't have to check or verify if the name's spelled correctly, because if they spell the name wrong, that's on them. Maybe they shouldn't be in real estate if they spelled the name wrong when they registered, because you just utilize what's in the MLS. And that's all I'm hoping you guys do. Make this efficient, make this easy for you. Spend more time out there prospecting, getting to know people, spending more time with your family as you're running a business. So these small tricks and techniques are hoping to minimize from an hour to hour and a half writing one offer to 15 minutes or less. You could do this as you're doing something else, as you're creating marketing materials, as you're having a conversation with somebody else. It doesn't, we're always multitasking. So you could do this same thing at the same time. So I encourage you guys to be able to do so. All right. So hopefully that helps you there. But now remember, you have the same option and capabilities for every type of template, for every type of transaction, right? If it's listed in the MLS, you can utilize this, right? Have probate listings. So the probate listing has been confirmed by the court, or it doesn't need to go to court, do that. You have NOD, which is notice of default. You have real estate owned. All of these, right? All of these templates are here. So for the notice of default, it's a little bit different, right? Currently at the moment, I would just need this one form where you get the address and it has attached to the wire funds. But it's the same forms. So if it's on the MLS as well, you already have, see, hey, I'm licensed, I'm able to sell this property, and then you fill this out as well. So it's all in one form together. This is all you would need. So you are, with every one of these transactions, prepared for anything that you could possibly be facing out there in the real estate field. I mean, I would be a little bit more hesitant if this was a probate listing and they died in the property nowadays just because of Corona. But everything that you have or may possibly incur or deal with and face as a realtor, hopefully you guys become brokers as you become more acknowledged and more well versed. You are ready. Even you have manufactured homes, that's a manufactured listing as well, right? So each of these are here for you. Do you have your addendum? So all of these forms, right? For manufactured home, you would just need a manufactured home addendum, which is only unique to this manufactured home and mobile home advisory as well, right? Do you have your carbon monoxide, water heater, earthquake hazard, right? All of these things, speaking of which, this is my old agency, so I need to go in and update some things. But each of these things are here for you to utilize, right? Doing this, spending 30 minutes one time will save you years and stress and time in the future. Hopefully, you guys are here for 20 or 30 years or more, like I plan to be. And as these forms update and new things happen, you have them all available to you, right? So, hopefully, this has helped these the use of templates. I know usually when I teach this class, I spend a lot of time helping people create them. Obviously, we're not face to face. So, what I will do is I'll give you guys time to actually ask questions and create them so that you can utilize them to your full advantage. There's a couple other things that I may want to show you, but hopefully, I leave you guys time to actually create um, the transaction, the templates yourself. Okay, so we will go back into here and so we got a recommendation to try one ID in itself. So I will show you that this works with any one listing ID. All right, will pop up. Right. So even if I typed in this one right here, this WSID, right? Just copy and paste it, go back in to our purchase. All right, we'll go into this one. All right. We'll get back into loading this. So this can work for any ID. So we already have this transaction done. Like we've already input things, but I could always just go back in and reconnect it to another MLS and it'll update again. All right, just to show you guys. Give it a second to find itself. All right. So include the property photo, correct address 22725 Lakeway, hit save, right? If I want to replace this data with imported data, which is from the MLS, hit yes. And it's been updated, so now we can go back in. See, Georgetown Investment, Lorinda Chow. Address has been updated. There is the license number of the brokerage and the license number of the actual realtor herself. And then you could, then all you have to do is go in and change the price or whatever you want to offer, and everything else stays the same. All right. So you have everything available to you again, just from the MLS itself. So I encourage you guys to utilize these templates. Do not hesitate to ask questions during this time about making sure you create them the right way. I will leave time at the end to do so. There's just a couple other things that I wanted to show, just because I think you learn more by doing it yourself than rather having someone like me showing you, right? You know, we had at most 60 people on this call at one time. I don't know how all of you learn, right? I know how I learn, and I know it's easier for me, but I'd rather leave you guys with time immediately after I show you what I feel is important and necessary to address, so that you can utilize it and remember it and then pass that information on to someone else who doesn't know it or is not sure how to use this. So, couple last things to show you before I leave you guys to try to do this on your own and ask questions. Um, let's see, what else have I not shown you guys? All right. I do encourage you guys to go ahead and, like I said, if you're going to download this on your phone to just to play and practice on, if you're not always by your actual laptop or anything like that, on your app store, if you just type in zipForm mobile, it will automatically pop up. It'll be the first thing. So it's called zipForm Mobile Companion, right? That is what it'll be on when you are in App Store or the Play Store, right? It's not Zipcars. Or you could even utilize zipForm Mobile. That helps as well. Um, Download both just to be in case. But one last thing to that I want you guys to encourage you to do. I encourage you guys to put and fill out your information here, because sometimes what happens with CAR is they utilize your information just to see. So if you have a face and you have your updated address of your brokerage, I didn't feel like pulling a photo because I didn't have a good selfie at that time. But that information there is you, so you could see to make sure that you're not logged in, right? You always have your recent activities. So these are all the things that we've done, that I've done while I was logged in, right? Added these forms and all of this stuff. So this will tell you exactly what you've been doing as you've been logged in, right? So here's also a couple of things to look at. Some of the partners that are with zipForms, just so that you could see how your job is easier, right? If you are going to be a property manager or you're going to represent those who own units, apartments, things like that, here is Rent Spree, helps you make it a little bit easier. There is a form for what's the word I'm looking for? If you need to run a credit check, there's a CAR form that you could upload to run a credit check as well. My NHD for your natural housing disclosures. Mentioned this earlier, DocuSign, where you can sign documents from anywhere, phone, laptop, or anything like that. Moving app, if you have clients that are coming in from Northern California to Southern California, another country to LA, another state or city, you can utilize this as well. If you need help with getting virtual tours, you can utilize this. These are all people that are partnered with CAR so that you can help yourself as well. All right. Home warranty. um, emphasis that you should utilize this. If you want to use QuickBooks, showing management, like if you need to plan out times to show properties, that's available to you as well at a discount or free. Certified proof of funds, if you're going to attach proof of funds and you want to make sure that it doesn't give out too much of your client's information that may void or cancel a NDA, or you just don't want to give out too much information on your clients, respect their privacy as well, you can utilize this as well. Glide, which is very similar to SkySlope. If your brokerage uses SkySlope, which helps you organize forms, Glide helps you do all the disclosures. So your Avid, your um, final walkthroughs, your buyer walkthroughs, all of those are available to you. So you can link your account and they'll send out all the forms that you would need to fill out and tell you when and where to sign. RPR, right? Signex digital signatures as well, CRMs. So all of these things are linked in directly to zipForms, right? Then you have your announcements or bulletins, so you can see the changes that happens in the zipForms updated, right? Partners, other partnership announcements, right? So all of these things are available to you as part of your CAR membership, right? Which is one of the greatest things. I love being a CAR member. I mean, even though it's given to me once I pay my fees, but you are paying for access to things that most or very few businesses have. The question is, how do we implement all of these things into our business? That's where the hard part becomes, because we get so many great technological resources, books, people. We have to find ways to synchronize them efficiently and effectively into our business. So that could be the hardest part sometimes. There are things that I feel like I don't have time to use my business that are effective and would help me grow, right? So that sometimes can be an issue. So let's see if there's anything else that is crucial and important now. Right. Always remember when you're doing a transaction that the information that you put in will always show here. So even names of sellers, buyers, tenants. So I always encourage people, if they really want to be private, you still want to practice, don't do it in a too public of a place, right? Use your hotspot, use your privacy on your internet, all those types of things, right? Don't use the Starbucks internet, because that has access to everybody, where they can come into your, hack into your computer and take away all that personal information that you have, and then you're liable for a lawsuit. So, if you're going into a public place to do work, like you want to do work at Starbucks instead of your office, use a personal hotspot on your computer and log in from your laptop onto there, or from your iPad or tablet, whatever. Utilize that personal hotspot where people have a password to log into it. So utilize that to your advantage as well. Let's see what else can be of help to you guys. Any questions so far? I know I keep asking, but as of right now, I want to make sure that all the information I've gone over has been useful and helpful to you guys. I usually give time for more interactive things so that you can make sure you put these templates and functions in immediately. Just because if you keep putting it off and you're not going to do it today, you're not going to do it at all. You're going to keep finding other things that are going to distract you, use clients as what I would say is an excuse. But we as humans naturally, and parents and uncles and business owners, whatever we, our titles include, we kind of get distracted and we forget, then we put this thing off for months and months and months. So what I would rather do is spend time helping you guys now set up these templates so that you don't have to do it again after today. You may just have to update them, but you don't actually have to do anything outside of that today. So if there's not any specific questions, um, I will not allow you guys to have to wait on your anxious, hands and feet to start your day. But thank you for spending the morning with us. I'm going to be around to answer questions more specifically if you have questions about templates or specific things. But if it's something specific that is helpful for everyone, then I will address it. If not, thank you for spending time with me. I know I finished a little bit earlier than what most people expect. I'm more of an interaction teacher, so these things go a little bit quicker where I don't get a chance to actually interact and engage with you all. So I'm going to stick around for questions specifically about templates or anything in zipForms. If you guys don't have questions, thanks for joining us this morning. Miss seeing you guys in person. Hopefully I get a chance to meet you guys once we're safe, and hopefully you guys are all staying safe, and we'll see you soon. I'll stick around for questions, but thanks for joining us this morning. Hopefully you learned something from this and I've been of help to you. So have a great Monday, have a great week, and it's not July yet. I would say have a good 4th, but we still have another week before that. So thank you guys for joining me this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you. Like I said, I'll stick around for any questions. If you have specific questions, I'm here to answer those as well. So go out there, go make us proud, go sell some properties, go help some people. And yes, before you guys leave, I will leave you my contact information. I'll give you my cell phone number and my email address so that you guys, if you have questions after this, you can go ahead and reach out to me. Joseph, do you mean that if you go in a template and you just type in RPA and then you click back? If let's say you start a template and you click on RPA, right? When you hit the back button and you click on the template again, the RPA is there. If you need to add more forms, you can always just go back to all forms, click on them, and then click back and they'll be loaded up and automatically populated. But if you're just going to click on the RPA, it's all the forms in the RPA that will be there. It won't be any additional forms, no advisories or anything like that. The advisories have to be clicked on individually themselves. So it'll show up every form in the RPA, all 16 pages of the RPA. I forget how many pages are in RPA. I keep forgetting because we're working on condensing the RPA, and that's one of the updates that should be coming pretty soon. I believe next year is supposed to be this June, but then COVID hit. So, but that's one of the things that that whole document, all of the needed forms in RPA will load, but not all the other documents will be there. You have to add those in yourself. My pleasure. After you did the lease agreement transaction and sent it to the customer, the address is missing on top of the other pages. Which other pages? Are you talking about the other pages on the, like let's say, I will pull up a listing agreement for you, Joyce. And we can compare to that.
Leon, I think this is on the page 2, 3, 4. On top, there's a bar, right? Should automatically fill in the address. But we always missing that one. Maybe you can suggest with the zipForm.
Yeah, I can, let me open up a lease listing right now. And then let's see if we can figure it out. Because sometimes what happens is it doesn't load it automatically at the beginning, and it'll load at the end. So let's see. We'll just throw out a random address. Save. Okay. Let me, and then we will share the screen. Yes. After we look at this lease transaction, I will show you guys again how to import into the MLS, into the template. Okay. So we are going to go. Because sometimes all you need to do on this agreement, because on a normal lease listing, you only have it at the beginning, which is right here. You don't need to put the actual address again. So on the current form, you don't need to actually put the address. You only need to put the address once. All of these are there. Because that form goes together. Now, if you're talking about the other forms, like the disclosure or anything like that, you don't really have to worry. But because if she used the one that's in zipForms, they only need the address once. So it shouldn't have to be there again. But even on the RPA, once you connect the MLS, connect again, it should automatically load. If not, just click on the bar and it'll be a drop down and it'll just automatically load again. So you shouldn't have to consistently have that issue, because this is the lease listing agreement here. So this is the current one as we speak. And you only need the address once. The only form where you would need to consistently put the address on, and the address needs to be consistent on, is the RPA or the RLA. That's it. Because these other forms are just directly linked to that, and that's it. Because they only have a reference once.
Leon, can you try the month-to-month lease agreement, like a 1-year lease form?
Like a 1-year lease?
I think Joyce is a point about that's why it's not listing agreement. It's yes, actual lease agreement. Like I sign a lease agreement with you 1 year, month to month. Yeah, try that one. Yeah, maybe.
Okay, let's see. All right, here we go. Rental commission agreement. Now, is she talking about the extension of lease, or is she talking about?
I think she should talking about a full 1 year lease agreement. You want to type the M like mother, month to month, I believe so. Then that month to month.
Oh, here it is. Try this one.
Yeah. Let's see this one.
So here's the address.
Go to second page.
Yeah.
Oops, there.
It's right there.
Joyce?
Yeah, it's on all pages. So probably what happened is.
But when you send it out, you don't see the address anymore.
Once you send it out, how would you send it?
You use digital e-signature to the customer, and it disappears the address.
Oh.
And the date too.
So that may just be a glitch. So did the customer already e-sign it?
Yeah, it come back without the address on top. Nothing. It disappeared when you send it out.
So that might just be an issue internally. That just might need to be something that needs to be created and updated. But even with that, what you could do is you could do two things. You could acknowledge it, like just with your initial, because with the initial and the acceptance, because remember, the e-sign already has a date, a time, and the IP address. So it's already a legal form. So if you write it in an initial and date it, it's okay. Or you can just make that acknowledgement to your client.
Yeah. It's just funny because when you're working on it, you see the address, but then when you send it out, the address gone. You know, is this something of computer error or some?
I think it's just a computer error.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you send out the RPA or the RLA, there's no issue with that.
Yeah, other form doesn't have a address on the second page or third page, no problem. It's only when you have the even the purchase agreement on top, the address is gone.
Maybe it could be the browser.
Yeah.
I use Google. I use Chrome. I mean.
Well, let's do this. I'll send a test one to myself just for an e-signature and see what happens.
Yeah. This is a good question. Yeah.